Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we are looking at the Kuat Transfer V2 2-bike rack here on our 2017 Kia Sedona. Now the Kuat Transfer is one of my favorite bike racks because of how easy it is to mount and dismount your bikes with this goal post design. It has most of the premium features you would expect from a Kuat bike rack, but it is at a more affordable price compared to, let's say, the Sherpa or the NV. One of the features it has is I can tilt away, and what I actually like to do is just to put the arms to the side. That way I can step all the way towards the inside and step on this lever. This allows it to tilt down, and you'll want to do that if you want to access your hatch. Now, one thing I noticed here on our Kia Sedona was that tilt down actually was not enough to fully clear our handlebars, which can be a bummer. But on the bright side, the Kuat Transfer is super fast when it comes to mounting and dismounting your bike, so you could actually just take off your bikes in order to open your hatch if you need to. Let's talk about that process. So our bike is mounted at 2 points. Here in the front, we have the front wheel clamp. So this is holding our front wheel, which allows us to carry bikes like this. This is a carbon frame bike, and I have to be careful if I use frame mounted bike racks because those have the possibility of warping my frame. I can only use bike racks like this one, but I can also use this kind of bike rack with alternate frame bikes. So if I have children's bikes, women's bikes, step-through bikes, this actually works really well because then I don't have to get a frame adapter bar. Here in the back, we have this rear wheel strap. So when I want to take the bike off, I start by pressing this lever and then pulling up on the strap. From there, I recommend leaving it to the side. That way it's not getting tangled up in your spokes when you take your bike off. And then you come over here to the front. Hold on to your bike as you do so it doesn't tilt backwards. You press this button on that front wheel hook, lift up, push out, and from there you are ready to go on a bike ride just like that. And with the bike out of the way, let's take a really close look at the bike rack itself. So that rear wheel cradle is here in the back, and this can tilt back and forth to accommodate different wheelbases. The longest wheelbase this can accommodate is 50 inches. It has this rear wheel strap. So this goes around and secures that rear wheel. One thing to note about this is if you notice how wide that cradle is, the cradle can accommodate tire widths of up to 5 inches. Now the strap will have to be upgraded though to be longer if you are using fat tire bikes. Now let's come over here to the front. You have this front wheel cradle that can be adjusted too. Takes a little bit more process, but you will want to use that with your longer bikes. And then you have this front wheel clamp, and this ratchets down to secure that front wheel. What I actually like to do is to set it out towards the outside. So at the longest setting, it's going to sit to the outside of the goal post design. You can also put it on the inside if you want a more compact look for your smaller vehicles. But here on our Sedona, it's perfectly fine on the outside. This has a weight capacity of 40 pounds per bike. That's because this is a version that has an 1.25 and 2-inch shank. If you have heavy electric bikes, you can pick up the Kuat Transfer V2 with a 2-inch solid shank. That's going to have the heavier weight capacity you would need for the electric bikes. But the main difference with that is just the shank, as well as the ability to extend or take off pieces or add on for more bike racks. When you do have a bike rack on your vehicle though, there is some length added to it. So let's take some measurements here on our Sedona. Measuring from our rear bumper to the end of the bike rack, it's going to sit at about 33.5 inches. That's pretty normal for a 2 bike rack, but still a measurement to keep in mind when you're backing into a garage or trying to park into a really tight spot. We'll also talk about ground clearance. So measuring underneath the tray to the ground, it sits at 17 inches. And then measuring from underneath the shank to the ground, it sits at about 10 1/4 inches. So the Sedona actually sits pretty close to the ground compared to other vehicles, especially with where the hitch receiver is. That means this shank rise, or that fact that it sits a little bit higher than normal, is very important because you definitely want as much ground clearance as you can get when you're going up a steep incline like a driveway or a hill, so that your bikes are less likely to hit the ground. Now let's talk about another of its features, and that is it can fold up. To do so, you press on that lever and you fold up on the bike rack. Let's take some more measurements with it in this position. Measuring from our rear bumper to the end of the goal post, it's 9 inches. Now the lever out here sticks out a little bit further, and that's going to be 11 1/2 inches. As for our closest point, that's going to be between this front wheel cradle and the bumper, and you're going to have a clearance of about 3 inches between the vehicle and the bike rack, meaning there's really no chance of this making contact with each other. Let's talk about how it works with it folded up. So your rear window is completely open, as well as your tail lights on each side. Where your backup camera is right over here, as well as your license plate. That's where the goalpost design really shines. Unlike other platform racks, which cover that license plate and sometimes a backup camera, this is completely open. So with it folded up like this, you have full view behind you and you are not covering your license plate. Let's talk about how this fits into the hitch. So this version has an 1.25 inch shank with a 2-inch sleeve, since we have a 2-inch hitch on our Sedona. This uses a hitch pin and a clip. Honestly, I recommend picking up the lock from Kuat, which you can find here at etrailer, for your hitch pin to create a hitch pin lock. This does not use an anti-rattle bolt. What it does use is a security wrench to tighten down. That's one of the downsides of the Kuat transfer. It does take a little bit more effort and a little bit more time to tighten down that ratchet or that hex wrench part. It is a security key though. So once you do have it tightened down, it extends a ball cam inside the hitch. That way, as you shake the bike rack, you can see I'm mainly shaking the vehicle at this point, showing that it does reduce that rattle and that sway, and whatever you feel is from the road and not from improper contact in the hitch, making for a smoother ride for your bikes. Alright, so my final thoughts about the Kuat transfer is that I really like that goalpost design, which opens up this backup camera and license plate area. One downside is that even if I have it tilted away, I don't have full access to our hatch. Now it is really quick and easy to put the bikes on and off, but it's still an extra step that you would have to take and to consider when you're considering this bike rack. So that was a look at the Kuat Transfer V2 bike rack here on our 2017 Kia Sedona.